He's a comedian and an actor, and now Brian T. Shirley is being featured in a new short film called The Senator. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Brian one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Well, Brian, it is so good to see you.
Yes, Quintin.
Yes, sir.
Good to meet you in person.
Likewise.
We've done the internet thing and
right.
the phone.
That's
so
right.
It's good to officially reach out and touch you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. And speaking of which, you have a very tremendous resume, which I love. I want to take it to your Facebook page because on your biography it says this. It's a host of things.
Right.
Host of the BTS Entertainment Corner. Co-host of the Lena Jones Diamond Network Show. Performer, actor. Creator, host, and producer at BTS on the Road web TV series. Comedian. Former host of BTS radio show at Kinetic High Five. And lives in Charleston and is from Charleston.
Yeah, well, I've been here about 25 years.
Wow.
I'm from Georgia, but
Okay.
I've lived here, 30 years, close to, I guess, between moving back and forth. But
Right.
then I've been here the last 25 consistent.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been my home for half my life.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Who else is Brian T. Shirley these days?
I think the acting thing is what I'm really starting to push because doing stand-up comedy for 25 years, I still love it. I still want to get on stage, but you have to have those credits now. Once you get to my part of the game, they want credits, and so I'm building that. Plus, I do love acting.
Right.
I think I've been doing it for 25 years because when you're a comedian, I feel like you write your own script and then you go up and perform it. Because I don't just do straight stand-up. I don't just sit there and tell jokes. I actually do characters and stuff, and I improv with the audience too. And I do improv. I have improv meetings that I do with another performer. So with the short films, the web series and stuff that I've been doing, that's where I'm pushing the acting thing. I actually got a role next week. I'm doing a short film called The Senator.
That's right.
It's a student film down in Savannah, Scab.
Yes.
And believe it or not, I'm playing Strom Thurmond.
Oh.
I'm busting it here.
Well,
nobody else knows.
Thank you.
I hope they're not mad that I'm telling you. But yeah, so that's it, folks. I'm old enough to play a young Strom Thurmond. That's kind of scary.
What would Strom Thurmond think of you playing him as an actor?
I think he'd be cool with it because, believe it or not, my dad actually has pictures of him and Strom Thurmond.
Wow.
Because my dad was a city councilman in Charleston for 20 years.
Yes.
So he knew Strom Thurmond, not,
Right.
I don't know how, it's better how, friends or whatever you would call it, but he met Strom on several occasions. And my dad and his current wife, there's a picture of them with Strom. And Strom must have been about 100 at that point.
Wow.
In his 90s at least.
Right. Because he passed away, I think, in 2004, something around that time.
Yeah. So this was early in my dad's, probably about halfway through my dad's Charleston City Council career. So I think Strom would be cool with it. And this is going to be a timely, very timely thing they're doing. It's in the 1950s. The film I'm doing is set in the 1950s.
Okay.
I play Strom,
Yes.
and then there's somebody I'm visiting, and it's his illegitimate child.
Oh, right.
And so it juxtaposes his political views with his private life.
Right.
That's really what this film does. And I'm not going to go into it any more than that. I won't say any lines or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a very timely piece.
Yes,
and
indeed.
to be playing the lead in it is a little bit wow.
And you talk about your father and his current lady who actually knew Strom Thurmond and met him and whatnot. How easy or hard was it for you to do your research?
Well, what I did, I had to do the audition first, and they wanted voiceover and they wanted, on camera. So I did it in I got a studio I'm setting up in my apartment. So I actually went on YouTube and listened to one of his speeches from the 1970 at a college.
Right.
Just one thing to get his voice patterns down. The other thing, I couldn't watch it because for some reason all they had was audio.
Wow.
So that's my next part is kind of watching some more. I mean, I saw him speak live.
Yes.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it was at the old Charleston High School. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly where it was at, but I did see him speak live.
Sure.
And at 90 or whatever, he was still sharp. It was funny because somebody did something he didn't like, and he just answered it real quick and just stood there, and everybody waited. And he went, next question. And it was actually funny as hell because the guy had asked something and he answered him,
right,
and that was it.
Wow.
It was like, you know, somebody, they were wanting more, and he was like, no, you got what I gave you.
Wow.
Let's move on.
Wow.
So he was, you know, kind of endearing in that way. You know, he was straightforward and honest, and that's what I got from the audio that I listened to him.
Right.
That, yeah, I mean, for whatever faults he had, he seemed to be a straight guy when he was out in the public.
Right.
You know, he didn't mince, you know, stuff. You know, there was no spin factor or anything that I saw. But then again, you got the juxtaposition back in the 50s.
Wow.
So.
Now, do you have certain parts of his personality in you?
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I think it's just my agent told me I got to see her back in November when I was doing something down in a film festival down in Savannah, and she said, "Look, we need to get you some dramatic parts to round out, you know, my demo reel and everything. And this is a student film that I just said, sure, you know." Because when you go for these things, you're not really, especially when you're in the audition process, you're not really looking to identify that person. You're just looking to get the job.
I see.
And then, I mean, that's the way I approach it.
Sure.
And then once I get the job, obviously I look at it because when you get these things, they try to match you to their profile to begin with.
Yes.
So when you get it, you're pretty much in the age range or whatever. And then you can look and see what kind of, if they give a description, you can tell, okay. So this is different because it's a historical character.
Right.
Up to this point, I've been auditioning for fictional characters. So this is the first time I've auditioned for a historical figure.
Wow.
And that's the other reason that I'm glad I got it, because, you know, it's a known figure, which adds a little bit more prominence to the role.
Right.
And I think that I got to get in there now and show that I can become him for that little bit of time.
Wow.
That's the way I approach it.
And you talked about your father. We all know who he is.
Oh, God.
Now let's talk about family.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I mean, I can just
go for it.
Yeah. Well, I guess the big thing that people come to is that he left when I was a child, and I talk about that in my show, and I go straight for the gut.
Wow.
And my dad's the kind of person, and I even say this on stage. I say, look, you know, he laughs at the jokes I tell about him too. He'll be sitting in the audience. I'll say, "Hey, Dad, remember that time I was 13 and you were you weren't there." And, you know, people get shocked. You know, they're like, and I'm like, "Hey, I can make fun of my dad as part of the settlement." So,
oh gosh.
you know. But no, but those are, you know. See, you got it. It took him a little bit, folks. It took him, like, you know, you saw the pause. I get that pause on stage too, so don't worry about it. I'm used to it. But especially the lawyers like that joke.
Oh wow.
But pain, comedy is pain plus time.
Wow.
You know, and that's nothing new. I'm not the first person to say that, but that's an old common adage. But it's true. You know, what we do, and it's not all pain. I mean, I have goofy, silly stuff too, but a lot of the best stuff comes out of our struggles, or just our mental process of something going on in the world that we just go, what the hell is that? And then you know, I do jokes about insurance, I do jokes about relationships. I think all comics do to a certain point.
Sure.
I mean, if you don't do jokes about relationships, that's one of the best ways to connect with an audience. You know, whether it be a romantic relationship, relationships with your parents, relationships with, you know, people you meet on the street, whatever. That's a big connection. So if a guy says I'm a relationship comic, I'm like, well, then you've got a great thing if you can make it work, because that's one of the big powerful things that people relate to. And that's the big thing about anything in the entertainment business, whether it's comedy, acting, music, writing, is connection, relating to your audience. And the better you can do that, that's the more powerful hold you can have on them. I mean, I don't want to mean it like an evil dictator or something.
Right.
You know, that's what you want, though. I mean, because you want to bring them into your world and show them what it's about, and hopefully your world crosses over to theirs. There's parts of your world that go, that's right, that happened to me, or I understand exactly what he's talking about. That's where you get the big laughs, or the big tears, or the big thing in your head where the music hits you right, and the songs, the lyrics.
Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about parts of the world, and I read your biography, And it says this: Brian has toured the USA, Canada, the Bahamas, and Japan for 25 years. He combines mythology, character-driven material, storytelling, and improvisation. Improvising to form a well-honed show. He speaks of growing up poor, divorce, relationships, the military, crazy money-making schemes, and much, much more. So, you talked about comedy and pain earlier. Is comedy your way of really erasing your pain?
No, I don't think you can erase pain.
Right.
I think you can, I guess, deal with it and move on. You know, maybe it's always there at some point, but, you know, the less you have to come back to it, the better. But, I mean, you can also draw off pain. I mean, like some of these roles that I've been looking at, I did an audition thing with my agent, and the night before I had done a gig, and it just sucked. I mean, there was some, I forgot what happened, but it was, and it, trust me, folks, if you know a guy doing comedy and says he hasn't had a bad show, he's only had one show.
That's true.
I don't care what anybody says. But, so the next day I'm doing this, a class with my agent. She had given me a script, and given all of us a script.
Yes.
And she didn't want us to watch the TV show it was from, because she wanted to see our take on the character, so I didn't watch it. And I went in and did what I felt, and I did the same scene that like 3 other people did, and we all watched. Well, that was what was painful. After we do our scenes, all of us sit there in the class and watch, and then she critiques us right there. And so you're sitting there going, oh.
Yeah.
And all she could say is, wow, a little bit of anger there. So that's when I learned I'm a method actor, because I was like, well, I had a show last night that really sucked, and I took all that and put it in this character, because part of the character was talking about somebody that had murdered their wife. So I thought, well, I'm just going to take that and channel that anger right towards that person I'm talking to, and I did. But I didn't. But I learned that you don't do a lot on the small screen. On stage, things got to get bigger. This is one thing I'm learning, is I've got to be smaller when it comes to doing stuff on camera. So I channeled it, but you know,
had your
kept it small.
Yeah.
And she said, wow. And I said, she goes, oh, so you did the method. I said, yes, I did the method. But that's one example of taking pain or taking stress or taking whatever and using it to, and I put that in the back of my head now and go, okay, if I got to do something, and here's, you know, I can either pull from my experience, or when I read the script, get into that script and pull from what the script's given me, or do a combination of both.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's what I'm
learning. Yeah. And I want to go back to the biography, because I want to reread it again. It says, Brian has toured the USA, Canada, the Bahamas, and Japan for 25 years. So what have you learned in the past 25 years from these different countries?
Gosh, I don't remember. I was too drunk at the time. No. Well, in Canada I was. Canada, I learned that they do drink a lot, and you got to talk real slow and direct. Yeah. No, they're good people up there. It's a beautiful country. I loved doing the British Columbia part of it, and that was, yeah, I think we did 16 cities in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And February. Yeah, a lot of snow.
Well, I was going to say, this doesn't compare to that.
Yeah. I learned one thing about Canada. You know how you can see signs for deer on the side of the road here? In Canada, it's moose.
Right.
So I was driving a Grand Am 2-door. Ooh. Moose would have hit me. It'd have been like, what was that? I would have been on the side of the car, you know, side of the road when he did it. You just completely destroyed the car, and the moose has a scratch on his leg.
Right.
You know? But I learned Japan for the Marines. I did that a couple of years ago, and that was exhilarating. You know, and exhaustion. You learn. You have 2 things that are going on in your life at that point. You're traveling for 24 hours to go somewhere you've never been before, and you are just exhausted and exhilarated at the same time. It is amazing, and you never get over it. You don't understand how you got through it, because you get there, you got a day to recover, and then you got 6 shows at different bases. And in between that, you're traveling again, because we went to Fuji, and then we flew to Okinawa, or it was back. I can't remember which way it is, but we did one city and then we had to fly, and finally we got to sit somewhere. So by the third show, folks, you finally feel like you're normal.
Right.
You know? And then it's over.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful country. Oh my God. And the way the people there treat each other and treat their elderly is just something the whole world could learn from. I mean, there's a lot of respect there. And that's one thing I learned from Japan was, wow, what a respectful country and beautiful women at the airport. The sushi was wonderful.
Wonderful, wow. Yeah, I got to go travel one day there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so obviously you have worked and you're well known for working in these comedy clubs, country clubs, resorts, cruise ships, special events, military installations, or private events. Let me stop there. What special event sticks in your mind right now?
God, special events are tough. One of them was I opened for Huey Lewis and the News at the House of Blues. That's how old I am. Actually, it was later on in their career. It was in the late 90s, I think. And you're going, oh, Huey Lewis, right? And then you go on stage and it's like, that ain't fun for a comedian. Comedians and rock bands don't mix. It's like sand and water or something. It's just, so I get up there and all you hear is Huey for 20 minutes or whatever. And I said, all right, you know, I got through it and said, okay, I'm doing my last joke. And that was the best response I got. You know, And I started to do my last joke and this idiot starts yelling at me again. And, you know, you got to remember, there's like, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 people. I don't know how many people there were. And I couldn't take any more of the pressure. I lit into that guy. And I got another big response because I was like, you idiot. I just said this is my last joke. If you let me shut up. And I can't tell y'all what I said. But yeah, that was fun. Besides that though, the whole thing was just, I got to meet the band because Huey was signing autographs. But that's one of the big special events that I did. A lot of the other special events are corporate, you know, like for companies that party. I'm doing one in a few weeks, as a matter of fact, for this thing up in Charlotte, and they're doing their annual holiday party, even though it's January. But some companies do it that way. They spread it out after the holidays, and you know, those are hit and miss. Anytime you're doing special events, anytime you're doing comedy that's not in a comedy club, it's going to be challenges because it's a different venue. Do they set it up right? And I know what I'm walking now after all these years. You know what you're walking into. You're probably not going to have a stage. You're probably not going to have lighting. You're not going to have walk-up music. You're not going to have a MC. You know, so you know all these things going in. And I know it's just going to be me. I'm going to bring my sound system. We've already talked about this over the phone yesterday when he booked me. And but I'm like, you know, you got to make it fun though. You still got to get in there. You meet the people. It's a different feel than doing stand-up at a comedy club. And if you're a comic out there starting out, these things will teach you a lot. And then when you go back to the clubs, you do feel a little bit stronger because, you know, oh, wait a minute, there's somebody bringing me on stage. Wow, I don't have to worry about that. Oh, lights, God, they'll see me. You know, I mean, so, yeah, they strengthen both of them, help each other out because then you go back to the club and you get that energy back. You know, and especially if you do a corporate gig that's tough, then you can go to the club and recharge your battery and go, oh, that's right, I am funny. Oh, good.
And you're back in your comfort zone.
But some of the special events are great. You know, I did one for I've done a lot of military reunions, and did one for the USS Wainwright, and had George Patton's grandson go up in front of me and do a speech. And you're going, I got to follow this, but you know, I had made some of the material fit to them. I had actually written a couple of jokes for this group especially, so that works out, you know, when you can do that. And that goes back to relating, you know. So if you're a performer and you walk into these situations like that, I always look around and see what I can do, especially right off the top of my show, to bond with them. Or if I think there's something that I can use later on in my show, you know, which I did about a month ago at a Christmas party down in Florida for some folks, and I tied them in, and those things work. So you learn a lot from special events, I think. You learn how to work audiences more than you do at comedy clubs sometimes, because for special events, you're specializing your show to that group a lot of the times.
Oh my God. Well, describe to me in one word your future.
My future?
In one word.
Later. Get it? Because it's going to come later. Hopeful.
Right, yes you are too.
Hopeful, I would guess. Yeah.
Well, Brian T. Shirley, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Oh, good. Not like the politicians that go, all right, here's what I'm going to do for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quintin.
I appreciate this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's